Tactics podcast. I'm Nikki from theLEAP and I'm here with Tim, our resident SEO expert for part 2 of how to unlock the power of SEO. Last time we talked about the basics of SEO, covering what it is and why it matters, and today we're going one level deeper and discussing the role SEO plays in creating a successful content strategy. How's it going, Tim? You all right?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. So let's jump straight in. What role does a blog or content play in SEO?
I mean, blog plays a lot of roles when it comes to SEO. More importantly, though, it helps on the consumer side. So it increases brand awareness. You can attract qualified candidates. You can position yourself as an expert. And I think that third one's the most important because you're positioning yourself as an expert to your target audience, but you're also positioning yourself as an expert to search engines. So when they crawl your site, they like to see that you've got a lot of content that's developed around the particular topic you're looking to serve. You're more than just a couple pages on a domain. You're an information source for your target audience. So when they come and they see that you have a wide variety of content related to the service you're offering, they feel more confident showing your site in search results because you come off as an expert in your space.
In your opinion, do you think a recruitment firm can rank high in Google without a blog? Like, is it possible? If you know how you mentioned a website with a couple of, almost like a brochure website, a couple of pages, is it possible to rank number one with a site like that, or do you need blog content?
I guess anything's possible, but I think you have a much stronger chance with good blog content. So I think, again, it goes back to showing that you're an expert in the space. So put search engines aside and think about your target audience. If they're coming to your site and you're a recruitment firm specializing in fintech, well, you got a couple pages saying, yeah, we'll help you hire candidates in fintech. That might work here and there, but wouldn't you rather build trust? Wouldn't you rather show them that you know a lot about fintech, that the candidates you're vetting on their behalf are going to be qualified because you understand their industry to an extensive degree? So having a lot of blog content allows you to do that and demonstrate that value.
And what sort of volume is enough to tell Google that you're an authority on the subject? Because people ask us this a lot, like how many blogs should they be producing? Is it enough? How long should a blog be? What is there a certain rule to follow roughly?
It's not a rule. It's more guidelines in my opinion. So yes, it's not, if you can do 16 posts a month, great. You're going to be putting out a lot of content, but you also want to make sure you're not hitting a point of diminishing return. You want to make sure that you're creating content that's going to provide value and that you're also not going to be stepping on your own toes. Because if you create content around the same topic and you have 8 pages that target the same keyword, you're going to be diluting equity. So what that means is Google's going to look at those 8 pages as being relevant to that topic, and they're going to split equity amongst them, as opposed to finding a really solid resource and just giving that resource all the equity. In terms of that magic number, I like to look at it as what can you comfortably do that fits within your overall marketing budget and allows you to focus on all channels of your business. So if you can do 4 posts a month, great, that's awesome. Pump out 1 per week. So what you're essentially doing there is allowing search engines to see something new every time they crawl your site. So they love that. Think about it this way. If a search engine comes to your site for 3 months and every time they come to your site, they see nothing new, they're going to reduce their crawl frequency. They're not going to come back as much because they realize this is basically staying this way. But if every time they come back, they see something new, they're more likely to crawl your site over and over and over again. And the more times they do that, and the more they see great content, the more trust they're putting in your domain. So that translates to higher rankings.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess with the first few blogs, it might be easy because people can come up with some topics. But what sort of methods can you recommend for coming up with relevant blog topics that attract the right kind of traffic?
Yeah, so when we look at keywords, we like to look at it in kind of a funnel approach. You have your upper funnel, which are your informational keywords, which make great blog content. Then you have mid funnel, which have kind of then informational, conversion intent, and then lower funnel, which are your conversion intent terms, which those tend to more often be landing pages on your site. So, but looking at some of those mid to upper funnel topics, think about the questions people might be searching relative to recruitment. Starting there, starting with recruitment related topics related to the sectors you're serving could be a great way to start building out content that'll resonate with your reader. Also, in the example of fintech, think about some of the current events that are happening in fintech, some of the salary questions people might have related to fintech, and you can generate content related to those. So sort of using fintech as a seed topic and a keyword research tool, and just looking at all the search queries or basically questions people are putting into Google around those specific topics. Another great benefit of blogging is you can do things like white papers. So you can create these ultimate resources for people to read where they have to put an email address in order to get it. So you can sort of generate some leads and some ways to re-engage with people down the road by providing them with content that's gated.
I'm just thinking, you talked about diluting equity, like if you create a lot of content on the same subject. In the example that you've used there, when you talk about fintech, at what point should you switch and create one sort of pillar piece and link other blogs to that piece rather than having lots of independent blogs in their own right, if you know what I mean?
That's definitely a great question. So, and that can really come down to proper research in the beginning. So it's okay to create content calendars. A lot of people are like, okay, we'll just create a few posts here and there. Well, you sometimes get off track or you sometimes start stepping on your own toes. But if you create a content calendar where you literally come up with a bunch of topics right out in the beginning, you can then map them out over the course of the year. But then you can also see when some of these topics start to overlap. And you may notice that you can find that hub topic, that central topic, and then you have all these other questions that live around it. All right, that might be a better resource versus like just a general blog post. So like to your point, we may want to take this specific topic, make it a parent landing page, and then have that parent page link out to all those child pages that live with that around it as smaller topics. So that they each have their own page, and that interlinking strategy helps tie it all together. So search engines can see that all these topics are related, they're linking to one another, but you have a page for each individual keyword, so it then stands a better chance at ranking. So for example, if you had like 10 child pages, then that one parent hub page, putting all those keywords on one page is going to dilute the effort for that page to rank. So that page is going to be ranking for a lot of specific terms, and Google may not understand or think that it's as relevant to those smaller terms when it's all clustered together on one page versus being broken out into separate pages and landing page clusters.
So in the last podcast you and I recorded, we talked about keyword maps, coming up with a plan so each web page has a focus keyword that the content is sort of gearing towards for SEO. Would you go as far as to say when you create a content plan that you should do the same, or is that overkill?
I would say it's equally as important. And oftentimes when I'm creating a navigation or a landing page structure, I'll also be looking at blog opportunities, because we do want to create blogs or like answer search questions, like search queries. We do want to answer those as we are building out the site itself, because you want to have content within your blog that can link back to your main navigation pages. So internal linking is a very important strategy when it comes to SEO, because it does help search engines get a better understanding of your sitemap hierarchy. So the more times Google finds that you're linking out to a particular page that's in your navigation, you're basically telling it that that page is extremely important and you should pay more attention to it. Not only that, but the text that you use for that link is the keyword signal. So for example, if it's fintech recruitment agency as the text that you're using for that link, that's sending signals to Google that the page it's linking to is relevant to fintech recruitment agency.
I often see people miss out internal linking in blogs, which makes me think, is there like a checklist of recommendations that you'd suggest someone goes through when they've written a blog to make sure that it is optimized and can be found in Google?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely search, and there's a lot of checklists out there. I think even like ChatGPT will create a checklist for you as well. But my general philosophy when talking about blogging is to make sure that the title of your post hits the keyword that you're targeting within that post as well. Oftentimes when we're looking at search queries, it could quite literally be the entire title. So that could be an exact match keyword. The keyword should also be used, generally speaking, within the first 150 words of the text. So if you're introing the blog post itself, it should be mentioning the keyword there as well. When it comes to internal linking, there's really no magic number with all this, but I do find it is nice to try to get 3 internal links for every 800 words or so, I would say at least. And then in terms of utilizing the keyword within the post, this is a huge debate in terms of keyword density, because it does come down to keyword difficulty scores as well. But let's say, for generally speaking, try to hit 3 to 5 keyword mentions within the 800 word post as well.
And do the alt tags matter still? Because I remember there was talk that they did. Is that still the case?
Like alt tags with images, you mean?
Yeah, with images.
Yeah, they do matter. But a lot of people think that they matter from a keyword perspective. Matters more for being ADA compliant. So you want to have your content be digestible to everybody, including the visually impaired. So writing good alt text will ensure that they understand everything that's on your page. And then there are times when you can fit the keyword in there naturally, and why not? Give it a try. I don't think it's a huge ranking signal per se, but to be ADA compliant, I think that's the most important piece, is to write it so that someone that can't see what that image is understands what it is.
So with SERP features, can you explain what a SERP feature is to begin with, and then talk a little bit about how you can gain SERP features in search?
Yeah, absolutely. So SERP features, they encompass a lot, really. So sometimes we have what's called position 0, which when you're putting in a search result, you might see Google puts the answer right at the top. We call that position 0 in SEO, and essentially, if Google thinks you've answered that question very well and you did it in such a way where they can put it in a sentence or two, they're just going to pull that text right from your article and put it right there at the very top. A lot of people look at that as like, oh, well, I really want people coming to my site and I don't really want to be in position 0, but a lot of times people do click through. You get that answer and then you click through to get a little bit more information around it. So it is a very good spot to be. Blog content's a great way to get there. People also ask is something you'll see often in search results. In fact, it's basically in just about every search done now. But if you're answering those particular questions within people also ask that are related to the topic you're writing about, that's another great spot to show up, because people do like to click those little accordion menus to get that quick answer. And then there's knowledge panels that'll pop up on the side. Reviews will often be a SERP feature, so you'll see like a star rating showing up within the search results itself. But with blogging, really that position 0 spot being in people also ask, those are 2 really awesome opportunities for blog content.
So what's the best way to get there? Because I've noticed there's a few different types of SERP feature. So is it video? Is it listicles? What have you seen that gets good traction?
Listicles get great traction. So if you're able to show, post 5 steps to do X, people like listicles. They like to digest content in steps. Google likes to display those steps right in the search result as well. So that's definitely a great way to get there. Featured videos showing up. So if the topic that you are writing about could include a video that maybe you have or you think you could easily create, add that to the page as well. The best way to get there is just to be genuine and holistic. Write great content. Write it as though you're thinking about your reader first, not the search engine first. there are ways to incorporate the SEO strategy into it and go through, make sure that the keywords are utilized, but utilized in such a way where it's not obvious that it was created for search engines. I think taking that people first objective and being very thorough and helpful with what you're creating is the most important. So we don't want to be regurgitating what's already out on the web, writing the same old thing. You want to apply your own unique voice to it and the intel that you possess that others may not.
It's interesting because you've touched upon there, I feel like AI a little bit, and you mentioned ChatGPT earlier. Is it possible, in your opinion, to create blog content using ChatGPT that ranks? Because I've seen conflicting information on that as to whether it's, you'd get penalized even for doing it, for using tools like that, or whether it would actually benefit your site. What's your view on that?
Well, my view is actually what Google has come out and said as well. It's it can rank, and there are applications where it's perfectly fine to use it. But I think really what matters most is making sure that you're providing unique value to the search result. So again, tools like ChatGPT, they may be a little bit behind, and they may not be well versed in current events. So if you're writing about a topic that has to do with hiring in the current economy, well, you really can't rely on tools like ChatGPT to create that. So I think you can use it to get a good foundation. You can use it to build your content structure. It can even help you create the content brief, basically outlining what the content should look like. But I do think you should apply your own voice to it, apply your own insights, because Google's product is the search result, and they're looking to show people information that's unique, that's accurate, that's extremely relevant to the search query. So the more effort you put into it, the more you make it your own and provide your own value to it that others may not be able to do, the better off you are in terms of longevity or ranking for the long term.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm thinking some useful things to flag might be on the LEAP website. We've got a content plan template that you'll find if you go onto resources and templates. We've also got a keyword map template that you might want to tap into, because both of those tools together would help you come up with your content strategy. And I'm thinking, Tim, to follow on from this, I feel like next time it would be logical to talk about the role of AI in SEO. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a very helpful tool when it's used correctly. It takes some fine-tooth combing at first, but when you start to nail down the prompts and you figure out how to properly utilize it, it can be very helpful.
Well, let's deep dive into that next time. For now, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you found that useful, and we'll catch you in part 3. Catch you later.